Let's go.
I'm Maylin Lee. I wear what I want, say what I want, 24/7, 365. I know, it's a lot. But I don't got time to mess around. Je me fromage blanc. All about that hustle, am I right?
Hey everybody, we're back with you again this week on Adore It or Ignore It, and we have got some good information for you today. And of course I have the mom that I use as my little bounce back all the time, and that is Jessica Crump. Hey Jessica.
Good morning. Hi.
Hey, how's it going today?
It's going good.
Wonderful. It's we're through our little snowstorm, and now we're into the spring, and birds are starting to kind of wake up and come on out. So it's starting our season.
We are. Yep. Spring break has kicked off.
Spring break is here. We got kids are out and about, and it's great weather for them. I'm so happy for them. But today we promised from last week that we would review a movie, and that is Turning Red. So Jessica has watched it with her kiddos, and she just has unbelievable information. She started out with one idea that she was going into the movie with from the trailer. Mm-hmm. And once she watched the movie, it was a complete turnaround. Is that correct?
It was. It was not what I was expecting. I feel like the trailer was super misleading, which was disappointing. My kids thought the red panda was adorable. So it's like once we got into this movie, they were like, we don't want to turn it off. Like this is, I'm like, okay, well, we're just going to keep seeing like how this builds and how this ends.
Right.
And it was definitely disappointing. Yeah. Especially for Disney. So the trailer made me think, oh, it's a young girl. I was thinking maybe 10, going through middle or elementary school, learning how to deal with her emotions and how to handle situations. In a way, it was some of that, but it was more of a 13-year-old girl going through body changes and dealing with how to control her emotions without turning into this giant red panda, which was okay.
It's representative of your just
what I kind of thought it was about. It's about a Chinese culture. It went, the mother, the aunts, the grandmother, they all went through these changes around the age of 13, 14. And their body started to change, and they had to learn how to control themselves or they would turn into this red panda. Okay, great. Like that's life. That's real life. That's how it, things do happen that way. However, with the first line of the movie was, I'm now 13. I do what I want when I want. And I was like, whoa. Okay, we are not a grown adult. We are 13. Like you still live at home. Like, okay, I'm going to let this one go. Right. So we just kept moving on. And it was a lot of things that, Mom says, no, I'm going to do it anyway. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm going to sneak out. Lots of risky things that I don't feel like we should be idolizing as a 13-year-old girl.
right.
I feel like maybe 16, 17. Like, yes, you kind of start getting a little riskier at that age. You're almost done with school, though. You're in high school. You're about to graduate, like 17 years old. Most of us are getting ready to graduate. So if you want to make a bad choice, and you're going to have to, live with that. But when you're 13, it's still very much a parent's job to keep you safe.
That's right. Because when you're 16, you start to drive, and you're starting to feel a little more edgy and independent, and like you can go do what you want to, and nobody can see you. But then sometimes you kind of go out too far, and you come back to home base.
And
so
you come back to home.
That. But when you're 13, you're still on your bicycle, or you gotta have somebody take you. So you're really not independent, but you're kind of feeling it.
Yes. And I like that they made it seem like, okay, she's getting to be more independent. But then it was, Mom, I want to go to this concert. And she's like, no, I just don't think that's good for you. And she's like, I'm going to do it anyway. And she did. So she's made herself turn into this panda, even when she would just make herself mad. So she would turn into this red panda. So the kids at school would take pictures with her, and she would charge them. Which in my world, I'm like, okay, that's very like selling photo. Like that's just too much for a 13-year-old girl. So as a panda or was not a fan of that. Buying merchandise, they were selling, renting herself out for parties. She was going to parties and like entertaining people for money to save money to go to this concert that her mother did not want her to attend. So she raises enough money, respect the hustle. She got enough money for her and her friends to go to this concert.
Okay.
So she sneaks out and she goes to the concert. Her mother finds out, luckily, and she is so outraged that she turns into this giant red panda.
Oh.
Because remember, in the culture, each of them went through it and they had to learn how to control it. Well, she was so mad she couldn't control it anymore. Massive Godzilla-sized red panda takes out the town to get to this Coliseum where her daughter is to get her daughter. Mean red face, big teeth, like scary red panda. And I'm like, as a mother, I don't want myself to get to that point where I'm so mad over a choice that my kid made that I am blowing up and this is this big deal. So for me, I was like, I shouldn't have to do that, especially at 13.
It's kind of like, you hear about she turned into mama bear mode, because that's with the cubs, they are like ferocious. So it's probably along that line,
Yes.
You've heard that because the father's nowhere, so the bear is all over it. So it's probably along that kind of thinking on that. So she's found the kids, so she brings them home.
Yep, she brings her home and, she talks to her, tells her, that's not a good idea, and then it just ends. And I'm like, okay. So wasn't really a fan. I didn't really think my kids got anything out of it. I was just like, they thought it was a cute red panda. Everything was great. They didn't really pay attention to the whole like teenage girl life. I mean, they're boys. They just really weren't paying much attention to that. Until the next morning, I told Cooper, who's about to be 7, I was like, hey, Coop, we got to go do this, this, and this today, blah, blah. And he said, I'm not doing that. And I looked at him and I was like, what? So it just took me back to like, okay, what I put in front of him, he does pay attention to.
Yeah.
And, even though I didn't think he was getting anything from that movie, I was like, that was driven from watching that little girl with her attitude and was very like, I'm going to do what I want. And he woke up the next morning because that's what he went to bed watching and had that attitude. And I was like, no, sir, I'll tell you right now, Mama's not going to turn into a red panda. We're just not going to do that. So it just, I did not adore it. I totally would ignore it.
Oh, ignore. Okay.
I think it should be rated PG-13. I do not think it's a PG movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it would be great for mothers to watch with their daughters. If I had a daughter, a teenage girl, 10 or 11, that's about to go through that life change, I think it would be great to watch to explain to her. But I also think it needs to be explained that not everyone's mom's, I might not know you've left. I might not know I need to save you. Mm-hmm. So if you're not in a situation, you put yourself in a situation that I've tried to help you stay out of,
right?
I might not be able to help you. So I think it needed to end in a way of like, you're really lucky your mom found out you were gone. I turned into this panda and I saved you. I kept you out of danger, but it doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what your number one goal is, keep them out of danger. And they're going to, veer off here and there. So it was a chick movie then.
Total chick movie.
Okay. And then you think the 13 is the new 16?
I do. I think that every time we turn around, it's more normalizing that. Like you're 13, you can act like you're 16. And it's scary. It's scary, honestly, because
there's no doubt when you become 13, you should act not like a child anymore. For sure. You should start getting in there because you're in the teen years. But when you're 13 to 16, huge growing process. So you're not adult decision making mode at that point. But they're trying to show that you did it and you still did it wrong. So I guess that's a good point in the movie.
Yes.
Because mom corrected you. Right. So
Mom did
she cares about you. That's why. She cares about you. She wouldn't. So you think, and the PG-13, because of why?
I think it's just the sassy and the like that's a teenage girl thing. Even a boy thing probably. I'm probably going to find out sooner or later that that is part of being a teenager. But I don't think that kids my kids' age need to watch it so soon, because then it's like, oh well, they're it's just progressing them along. And I will say this again. I've said it 100 times. I'll say it again. I want them to be babies while they can still be babies.
That's why I made the Fairy Fortune movie. I want a kid to stay a kid until adult issues come into the play.
Yeah, he's 7. He'll be 7, and I get he's not a baby anymore, but I also don't want him waking up talking to me like a 13-year-old yet. So that's kind of what I mean by, okay, we're 7 is like the new teenager, and then the teenager is the new 16, 17-year-old. So I'm just trying to keep him from seeing that as long as I can, so that we don't have to start correcting that behavior before we have, it's time.
Yeah, and the culture kind of gives it creeps in, from all different directions. Even when it's animated, it still creeps in, kind of.
Oh, for sure.
So do you think it being an animated television show is a softer approach than a real?
Definitely made it lighter. It definitely made it lighter.
Made it lighter. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it made it lighter. All right, so then you're good with that. So just going to ignore it on your end because of content. And sass.
My kids aren't ready for it.
Okay, kids aren't ready for it. So is there anybody that's ready for it? What age group?
I would say 11, 12 young girls watching it. Just kind of because it does show you like what's coming. If you make that, disobey, what could happen. But I also feel like there needs to be a side of it. Someone, telling them like that doesn't always work out that way,
Yeah, exactly.
So especially... I probably read too deep into it. It was probably trying to be a light movie. But then I was like, well, what about the girls that don't have someone that is going to come get them?
Yeah.
There's a lot of single moms out there. There's a lot of moms that work 2 jobs. There's a lot of, they think their kids at home and they're over here at a concert. They might not be able to help them. So that's kind of where I was thinking. I was like, you guys really just made this seem like it's okay to just kind of do what you want to do.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we're good with that. So that's our analysis of that movie. So the new one's going to come up that we're going to review next would be Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes, and I think it's going to be way more fun, and I probably won't be so deep and emotional about it.
Yeah, and that's coming out next month. Right around the corner. Let's just keep how fast it's going right now. So okay, so that's our movie. So let's talk about books.
Okay, so
what have you got for us this week?
The sun's been shining. We've been spending a lot of time outside, but Carter picked this one. It's the Under the Ocean. It has little films in here, and it's a hide and seek book. So it'll tell you like, let's find this, let's find, different little critters. So we go through and we have a lot of land animals, farm animals, stuff like that. So I really like the Under the Ocean because it went really well with Cooper's shark book that we talked about last week.
Yeah.
So this is just kind of the younger, lighter version of like what's in the ocean. So Carter really likes this one a lot. And it has like the big whale in the back.
Oh yeah.
And then you can flip the ocean. It just flips over it, and he's hidden back here.
Oh, how
so
fun!
You can find him, and then there he is.
That is just great, isn't that fun?
So fun book.
That just heightens their just piques their interest on anything like that. So are they afraid of water or anything?
My youngest isn't afraid of anything. That second child is something else, y'all. But my Cooper is a little more nervous about it, but I think it's because I was so nervous about it when I was, first time mom. Water's can be very scary, so I was just real anxious about it. So I think now that he's a little bit older, we had a pool party last weekend, and he was like, "Well, you're not going to get in with me." And I was like, "No, you're fine. Just stay in the shallow end. Like, I'll watch you." And he's like, are you sure? And I'm like, "Oh, mommy's positive. I am not getting in that pool with all these people."
So he's not looking for sharks or anything, is he?
So they had the little toys, and they were putting them in, and his friends were going in and getting them, and Cooper's like leaning down in the water, reaching for it because he doesn't want to go under. He's very, he's not as nervous, but Carter would just jump in. Like, he's just not scared. but they like looking, they love the beach and looking for things and sand built, they love that. So that's why I really thought these ocean books they would enjoy a lot.
And one day you'll go to the beach, so they'll be familiar with that, seashells and all that kind of stuff. So do that. Well, all right. That sounds like a really good round,
Yep. It was long-winded today, but that movie just had me, I was like, what?
Wound up. Yeah.
Had me wound up for sure.
Well, all right. Well, listen, I appreciate it. So everybody, we'll see you next week. We got something coming up on another book, and then we'll have some other information for you. But anyway, that's it this week on Adore It or Ignore It, and we ignore Turning Red. But you make the decision on yourself, but that's just our little.
Yep, that was just personal opinion, but you guys let us know what you think too.
Yeah. Anyway, y'all email us, and then we will email you back see us on Facebook, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right. Bye.
Bye.